Good morning, Mayor McLean, City Council, HCHD Commissioners, Hanson, Goldthorpe, Pickering, Director Keene. I wanted to take a minute and talk about some things that have come to mind lately. I have been trying to raise issues at various candidate forums beyond affordable housing, as I believe there are a lot of issues that need to be talked about and addressed in the coming years. Recently, City Council refused an appeal on the Gardner project at Vista and the Freeway. Now, admittedly, I have not been involved in that project at all, but it did highlight and really bring up and repeat the same issues that came up with the Simonich property. Basically, I have figured out that we are approving development projects that are continually building the traffic safety pedestrian project, building a big deficit. The 5-year work plan, which is now approaching 26 pages for Boise, is now really a 10-year plan, maybe even 15, at the level of funding and the logistics that it takes to schedule and actually complete a project. We can't continue that. That just doesn't make any sense. And it certainly points the issue that all the growth we have been having certainly isn't solving problems. It's creating more. And I think that we really need to be talking about it and highlight it and bring it to a different level. One thing that I would like to see is Boise's 5-year work plan actually be labeled as it is and scheduled out as it probably realistically will be. Showing what's going to be done in the next 5 years, 6 to 10 years, 10 years and beyond. And there should be a dollar figure attached to each one of them, but a total based on allocated funding for the projects and projected costs. Because unless we do that, we're not keeping that as top of mind on how far behind we are getting as we rubber stamp and basically approve these large projects without conditions of approval to address traffic and safety issues. We're never going to get ahead. We're just going to get further behind, even though you're hoping to solve problems with expedited or, extreme growth. So I think that would be a great start, especially if that discussion or data showed up in a planner's report on larger projects, over 25 units, over 50 units, just to show what we are doing and how far behind we are getting in these projects. This also highlights to me the need for urban renewal outside of downtown Boise. This in no way am I saying that urban renewal downtown has not been affected or anything against CCDC. It's just that 50 years of urban renewal downtown is long enough. The rest of Boise is really hurting, especially on the bench, on Vista, Overland, Orchard, Americana, Curtis, you name it. And with the rewrite and the growth that you want to push into these areas, that is just going to be exacerbated like crazy. These areas are not designed or built for the densities that you want to put in there. Despite what you say, the projects at the Simonich property, the ever-increasing projects on our 5-year work plan say, no, this isn't really working. We don't have funding, we don't have time, we don't have scheduling. But that project list continues to grow regardless of the number of projects that we're approving. It's not getting better, it's getting worse. I also see this as a systemic issue in procedure. traffic levels have greatly increased in the last 5 years due to the COVID surge. I mean, and over the last 10 years, I can't imagine how much more they have increased. We can't continue doing things the same way as we were doing 5 to 10 years ago. Things just need to change. The analogy I want to use is thinking of a water balloon. The more you squeeze it, the more pressure you put on it. At some point, all of a sudden, you have all these eruptions coming out. There's stuff squirting out everywhere. And we're seeing that with pedestrian accidents and deaths. You're basically going to have to create a reaction workforce to run around and address and correct all these issues, all these hot spots that are going to continue to rise. And that's just not the way we should be doing things. If you look at it, the developer pays for the traffic study. That means it's tainted. It's going to be published in his favor no matter what. He takes that, he goes to ACHD and convinces ACHD planners that, well, approve this. There might be some conditions, but they are limited conditions. They just will be because the developer's hitting ACHD directly. Then they take that report and say, look, ACHD signed off on it. This traffic study said there's no issues. And then you'll get a whole bunch of neighbors complaining. He says, wait a minute. There are issues here. But planning and zoning will go, well, ACHD didn't see anything. The traffic study doesn't say anything, so there's no problem. And the neighborhood input is just tossed to the side. And that's repeated at city council. Once in a while, you get somebody obstinate and angry and pissed off enough like me that is able to raise awareness and hopefully gain some traction, but that's not going to happen very often. That process is screwed up and needs to change. There should not be an approval going across planning and zoning unless planning and zoning, ACHD, and the neighborhood have got together to deal with the traffic issues. It just can't continue that way. And I can guarantee you that Hillcrest went through without a joint meeting, and the developers want it that way. They want to keep you apart and separated because as soon as you do get together, you are going to condition these projects so we're not exponentially adding to the 5-year work plan. I know there's a lot of talk in, the local option sales tax. Give me a break. In this state, that is a far-flung future, no matter how much you get from the, the Association of Idaho Cities. And even if you did get one passed, you need to take it to the voters. And I can guarantee you that if Boise had the option to take an option sales tax to the voters, it would be so big that it'd probably get rejected. Because you would add in transit, you would add in light rail, pathways, you would add in everything you possibly could think of. And now we're talking hundreds of millions of dollars, and that's probably not something local taxpayers want to add to it. And at the same time, well, we've also got parks that we're going to be needing with growth. Parks are going to be needing to green up, pathways, all the other stuff. Boise's want list is huge, and if you lay it all on a local option sales tax, you're not going to get a lot of other things. It seems to me that the pool of funding, the big budget surplus, should be the ripe target, and I'm sure that you're already working trying to get additional funding, but somehow we need to increase that pressure. I do fear, and I'm pretty firm on this and do believe it, that in all the effort I got to generate testimony for the Simonich property, the year's worth of pushing to fight against the rewrite, the biggest overwhelming response I got was, why? It's already been decided. basically, as you ignore the public input, the less public input you're going to be getting. And then when you really want it and need it, you're not going to get it, except for maybe a few hand-picked people that you really enjoy getting supportive feedback from. So the public that live in these neighborhoods have a lot to say, but they're really not being listened to. And that process really does need to change. And I think that urban renewal is really the only way you're going to get funding to start whittling away at this big 5-year work plan deficit. You are going to need additional funding from the state. You're probably going to need to increase taxes. But, obviously growth isn't paying for it. The taxpayer is going to be paying for it. And please don't take this as any that I'm focusing or trying to single out any specific entity or people or anything like that. I think it's a joint problem that needs to be worked out. And it's getting worse. I don't see it getting better despite everything that I hear everybody's trying to do. I don't think it's really getting better. So anyway, the 5-year work plan should be showing up on the planner's report so City Council and Planning and Zoning see it every time we have a big project. We really do need to look at sunsetting the next 2 urban renewal districts downtown and moving them out to the bench in West Boise, or you're never going to get enough funding to deal with the issues out there. We need to change the process so that people do get together, and we need to hit the state up for more funding. You probably have already heard a lot of this, that hopefully this will help. I do plan on pushing this video out to every council and mayoral candidate, because this is an issue that should be discussed. Thank you. If you have any questions or comments, you know how to reach me. Thank you.